All right, good afternoon, everybody. I'm looking forward to today's Twitter Spaces with StarkExpress. So very happy to host Tiago from StarkExpress today and learn a bit about what they're up to. Tiago, do you want to just start with introducing yourself, a bit about your background and what you've been doing until today?
Yeah, sure. So, hi everyone. Um, a lot of people know us as we were working on Three Sigma, and we still are. But initially, we started Three Sigma doing consulting services. Most of these were focused on technical consulting services. So, things like code auditing, code development, economic modeling, risk modeling, going very technical into everything that is blockchain. At the infrastructure level, DeFi, everything on that spectrum. We also do a lot of research. For example, also on ZK, we did also recently published a paper on Starks and on other um, aspects of the market, such as, for example, options, insurance. Now we're also working on an agent-based simulation framework. But from a very early on point, when we were building Three Sigma, expanding the team, getting more clients, we realized that there was a large gap in knowledge between different participants in the industry when it comes to technical aspects. And when we're talking about these different levels of knowledge, it becomes even greater when we're talking about people who are not even Web3 or crypto native, especially large businesses, large corporations who want to enter our space. And it's very hard for them to understand exactly how things work. Blockchains are very complicated systems. And so when we started talking with these companies, we understood that probably there's space for creating a product that can actually fix all of these needs. So technical needs, business needs, everything that was there, and that's when I started working on StarkExpress. This was quite a long time ago, hence why we're also collaborating with you guys, Starkware, of course, to build this infrastructure.
Great, that makes sense. So yeah, we can jump straight into that. So you're telling me StarkExpress is there to help with Web2 companies sort of onboarding to the blockchain ecosystem. Can you perhaps just give a bit of a description of exactly what StarkExpress is and how it solves this problem?
Yeah. So I'll make basically two presentations. So one is a more overall presentation, and this is also what we use to talk with people who are not crypto native. And then I'll explain in crypto layman's terms exactly what is StarkExpress. So with StarkExpress, we're creating the first Web2 ready ecosystem. And we say that it's a Web2 ready ecosystem because it fixes the three main pain points that we saw from everyone that wanted to join the crypto industry and couldn't. So when it comes to developer experience, our infrastructure, StarkExpress, all the applications are integratable using very simple APIs that abstract everything away from blockchain, all the complexity. So you don't need to learn about smart contracts. You don't need to learn about consensus algorithms, cryptography. If you know how to develop applications in a Web2 environment, you know how to create crypto and blockchain applications on StarkExpress. Then we're also solving big pain points when it comes to the customer experience. So businesses actually integrating blockchain. We don't have gas markets on StarkExpress. And so, for example, our pricing model is much more closer to what people see in a regular Web2 SaaS. We're charging a fixed price per operation on StarkExpress. And we also have customer support and other features that really facilitate the integration of traditional businesses to crypto. For example, we also have private transactions, and we all know how regulatory constraints are hindering the development and the integration of these companies to blockchain. And then, last but not least, of course, we're also fixing user experience in the sense that users who interact with StarkExpress applications, they have the same UX as interacting with any Web2 application. This is, of course, because we don't have latency, we don't have gas markets, very high TPS. It's an ecosystem, and so with the advancements that we see in MPC wallets, etc., we do see that StarkExpress applications offering this UX.
So this might be obvious for me and you, but maybe for the others in the Twitter spaces, it might be worth explaining this. You mentioned, gasless transactions, high TPS, simple API integration. Can you explain how this is happening behind the scenes?
Yeah. So behind the scenes, we're effectively a layer two. So as crypto people know, we're a layer two on Ethereum, and so when we are having all of these API calls, these API calls actually represent intents of transactions either by users or the applications themselves, or they can even be configurations that people want to do for their applications on StarkExpress. And of course, we're taking care of all of that. We're abstracting everything away that is blockchain. We're taking care of, for example, monitoring the blockchain, checking for reorgs, and all of these other things. And so, whenever users are interacting with their applications, these applications are then forwarding transactions to the StarkExpress API, and yeah, that's fully abstracted all the way.
Okay. That makes sense. So, I wanted to ask you, how does StarkExpress, as a layer two blockchain differentiate from other StarkX app chains?
Yeah, so basically, what has been built up until now with StarkX have been like you're saying, app chains. People usually call them now also role apps, application specific layer twos, application specific blockchains. This is not a new concept, but we took a different approach. And instead of building an application specific rollup, we actually built an ecosystem that has the same benefits of building an application specific rollup. Plus, of course, as it is an ecosystem, we get the benefit of interoperability between these applications, which is great for businesses and then for users alike who experience the good UX of not having to bridge back to Ethereum and then to another application. And so that's our key differentiator on how we decided to build StarkExpress compared to other solutions on the market. Because of the way that we could set up this ecosystem and then enable the other people to actually, or the businesses to create applications on our infrastructure, and how we were able to facilitate it as much. We're also targeting a different market than what we usually see on applications building using StarkX, which is more the traditional and fintech market.
So just to play back what you said, you're basically saying that with StarkExpress, your different applications can run within the same StarkX instance, so you get native interoperability or composability between different apps.
Yes,
That
that's
makes
correct.
while still being like an app chain or your own dedicated rollup.
Yes.
Can you just mentioned now that your the segments or markers that you're looking at might be different to where other teams are looking. Can you talk a bit about like which teams make sense to be building on StarkExpress?
Yeah. So as an agnostic infrastructure, if you want to come build on StarkExpress, you're more than welcome to do so. You can sign up for testnet on our website, which is now live, to try it out. But in particular, we're looking for applications and businesses who want to look towards the Web 2 to Web 3 migration. So if you already have a live business, this can be in the financial services area or any other area, and you want to start offering blockchain functionality and understanding how blockchain can improve your user experience to the end customer or help reach new markets, you should definitely outreach so that you can start bringing these elements of your live already Web 2 established business and bringing it into the Web 3 world without any of the troubles that's usually related to this integration.
So let's double click on that. I think also here it's a bit obvious for me and you, but a lot of Web2 businesses unsure what are the benefits of migrating to some sort of Web3 tech stack. Can you talk a bit about those benefits?
Yeah, yeah. So, for example, for different market segments within Web2 and fintech, For example, one of the big use cases that you can have also running on blockchain is, for example, loyalty programs. And these loyalty programs right now on the market, there are many different companies that try to be the interoperable layer in Web2 between different um, programs that companies have, creating marketplaces between them, exactly how this should interoperate, making sure that the business details are all looking. And with blockchain, of course, you get this 100% for free. So if you're working on a blockchain solution that has native interoperability with all the other companies, you can, for example, choose in a much more seamless way exactly how you want to interoperate and integrate with all the other companies that are also doing their loyalty programs. And so you remove a lot of the business overhead while also, for example, like I was saying, targeting new markets and acquiring new users.
Makes sense. Can you talk a bit about like if I'm running marketing at a Web2 company, debating between StarkExpress and using an existing public blockchain, perhaps Ethereum, what are the benefits of going? Did I cut out? Sorry.
I'm still able to hear you.
Okay, great. Yeah, well, what would be the benefits of doing it through you versus through public blockchains? I mean, public in the sense of these like, existing permissionless decentralized network.
Yeah, so effectively as a layer 2 on Ethereum, and one of the reasons why we're also using StarkX at the moment, it's because we have the same non-custodiality guarantees as Ethereum. And so in that sense, we truly are interoperable with Ethereum as well. And that's why we chose to build on Ethereum. But when it comes to all the other permissionless blockchains, we do not quite see the features in an ecosystem like StarkExpress as the other blockchains. And even when we're talking about even the word public or private, so the fact that for most of these blockchains, all transactions are public, all the actions that users do when interacting with applications are public, and usually this type of data can be very um, can be data that these businesses don't want to publish on a public ledger like a blockchain. And so with StarkExpress, for example, businesses can keep being compliant to the regulations that they need to abide by and still effectively integrate a blockchain solution.
Yeah. And again, I work in this industry and I work at Starkware every day, so for me it's obvious. But let's talk for a minute about how this privacy is achieved. We're not talking about cryptographic privacy like Zcash protocols. We're talking about certain data availability options. Can you just explain for a minute at a high level how this confidentiality is guaranteed?
Yes, this also has to do with the technology that Starkware provides in terms of data availability modes. And so businesses can keep being compliant because they will still keep the data that that they need to actually, for example, show to regulators that everything is working fine, that they have done, for example, KYC of their users, etc. But when effectively their settlement of the rollup on Ethereum, all of this data was kept private and never posted to Ethereum, while effectively and because of how the data availability modes work, while still the holders of the data in the data availability committee can attest that actually all the transactions worked as they should, and there's the data to be retrieved at any point in time in the future.
Yep, great explanation. I think validity and data availability with the data availability committee keeping the rest of the actual data off chain is very underrated architecture, which besides it's funny, the industry sort originally turned to it because of the lower gas costs, because you're sending less data on chain, but ultimately these benefits that you're describing of confidentiality from like Etherscan are not to be underestimated. whilst you can still guarantee some stuff like an escape hatch as long as one of the data availability committee members will provide data for you. So yeah, great architecture.
Yeah, and overall also not just Validium but actually volition. So the ability for example, applications or users to choose whether they want transaction data to be public or private on the fly, that actually also improves a lot on the flexibility that businesses have when integrating Web3 solutions.
Yeah. I'm going to go on this tangent just because you brought it up, and I see that looking at the like names in the spaces, there are a lot of like StarkNet developers also here. Volition, maybe we can talk about the use cases here of like when do you want to store the data on chain? When do you want to store it off chain with Validium? How are you thinking about them? What do you think would be relevant for these businesses?
Yeah, so for example, let's imagine that we are running a payment network, and this payment network, let's say it's Circle's payment network. And so they want to prove to everyone that they are meeting X amount of USDC to certain accounts. And we can say that these transactions are then made public using the traditional ZK rollup, where all of the transaction data is posted to Ethereum. But then within the payment network, let's say that within this payment network we want transactions to be private because users want to keep their privacy. Circle probably KYC them on their own application, and it's talking with regulators and publish and it's telling them the data. But at the end of the day, um, these users don't want to have their data fully private, and so transfers within this payment network could all be private, while means for accountability of a Circle's action could be made public, means as well as burned. On the other hand, if, for example, someone wants to make a public transaction to someone, and this public transaction probably they will use it for some n reason to prove someone that they actually did the transfer, and they want to be able to prove it on Ethereum. Then, for example, they could say, "Oh, I want this particular transfer to be made using ZK Rollup instead of Validium," and the transaction data will still be posted on Ethereum.
Yeah, great. I see it similarly. I think in general, like loyalty programs, when you're like minting millions of NFTs, that can be kept off chain. Often you can trust the entity that's minting the NFTs anyways to manage and monitor distribution. But the second you get like ERC20s that represent real world assets like these stablecoins, you get what you're describing, where sometimes it makes sense to use roll-up mode to secure large transactions or to secure your balance on chain on layer one, and sometimes it makes sense to just stick with Validium and keep the confidentiality and low gas costs. Cool. So wait, let's just summarize. What's the like? If you, what does StarkExpress look like when you mature? You've onboarded a few customers, a few Web2 companies. What's the goal for what StarkExpress is looking like?
Yeah. So when we talk about like the product goals of itself, we split it up by three verticals that the three pain points, the areas of pain points that they said we're solving. So when it comes to the developer experience, we're looking for having one-click deployments for any use case. So like I said, even for exchanges, payment networks, loyalty programs, etc., developers should not need to write code. So one-click deployment, integration in no-code platforms, and also looking into embedded finance. So, for example, having white label marketplaces for web and mobile integration of the different use cases and applications that you can build on StarkExpress. When it comes to the user experience, like I said, a regular Web2 experience. So you log in with Google or Apple single sign-on, and then when you're interacting with the application, you either don't need to sign transactions during your session, or you're going to have simple UX like Apple Pay, where you can just double pay and interact with the application. And when it comes to on-ramp and off-ramp, the same as with any other Web2 service, plus the added benefit of course, it's a crypto product. You can also use crypto, so all payment methods and all payment forms. When it comes to the customer experience, so we will offer a customer area that supports setting up all customizable and automated workflows for any business logic. And so, for example, you can choose when you want transactions to be private, which ones. You can set up different conditions for when this happens automatically. We also have customizable interoperability of applications on StarkExpress. So let's say that I'm running a marketplace and I want certain assets to be interoperable. I can also choose on demand which assets are listed on my marketplace and can be traded there or not, for example. And we'll also have customer support 24/7 working with the businesses that are using our infrastructure.
Sounds great. That sounds like a really good value prop for these businesses. What are the timelines? Is this just a tweet, or is this when we facing launch?
Yeah, so we are going to be launching on late Q3. Of course, the product will not still be exactly how we want it in the end. There's a lot of feedback to take in and iterate on the product. But currently, testnet is already live. Most of the core operations and core features are already there. And so you can come try and test and, of course, provide us with feedback on what we're doing on StarkExpress. And then our expected timeline for completion of all of these features is around late 2024.
Okay, great. What website can people go to, or will people be able to go to at the end of Q3, or even now?
StarkExpress.io.
Sounds too easy. StarkExpress.io. I think at this point, if anybody in the audience has questions, you can raise your hands. We can unmute you. Cool. If not, maybe I've got some like a few random a few random questions. So firstly, on the StarkNet, so we've been talking about StarkX until now. Are you thinking towards a StarkNet, either running in a Zap chain on the public network, and the different trade-offs and benefits there?
Yeah, so there are quite some reasons why we first chose to build using StarkX. And of course, a very large one is that StarkX is the only system, the only framework right now that allows you to build a layer 2 that doesn't have training wheels. So the only one with self-custodiality guarantees on Ethereum. Unfortunately, this is not true for other solutions out there on the market, as well as other things such as TPS and other features that we wanted to build StarkExpress. In the future, our goal with StarkExpress is to become agnostic. And so, us having StarkX, we'll also have StarkNet, of course. We do see a lot of value proposition currently with StarkX. And so, for example, with StarkNet at the moment, app chains, it would not be ideal for StarkExpress, but of course, StarkNet also has other features that we would like to incorporate in the future, and so our goal is to become agnostic and really be the connective environment between the connection ecosystem between Web 2 and Web 3, while effectively abstracting everything that's in our Web 3 world.
Great, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I think the StarkNet community is a great community to be part of. There's a lot of good stuff happening there. Okay, I think anybody else want to ask questions in the audience, or Diego, do you want to turn around and ask me some questions?
Yeah, if no one from the audience has questions, I would say again, sign up for the testnet, try it out. We're very looking for feedback. I think you'll have a wonderful time working there. And also for StarkNet devs, if you have any more technical questions on how things are looking up on StarkExpress, feel free to shoot them over.
I see a few questions in the I'm just seeing them now. in the responses to the Twitter space, which you should probably answer. Yeah. So one question is, what's the high TPS looking like? Do you want to answer that, or I can answer that?
No, I can answer that. So currently for StarkX, the TPS is around 10K, but because we are effectively running other parts of the infrastructure, StarkExpress does handle larger loads and then continuously dispatches them to StarkX. So let's say that there's I don't know, a high frequency trading exchange on StarkExpress, and it does more than KTPS at a time. It's fine. StarkExpress handles the load, and then as the TPS, as the high spike in TPS lowers, things will still be posted on Ethereum as they should be.
Yeah, makes sense. So like TPS in terms of the throughput that the network can handle, even if there might be latency before it gets to layer one. There's another question here. Is there any parts that are currently centralized? Yeah, I'll quickly answer that, and then you can add something. So with stuff built on on top of StarkX, it by design runs a centralized sequence, a centralized gateway, not even a sequence in technical sense. But the security guarantees are still set by Ethereum. So there's an escape hatch that you can trustlessly engage with via the smart contracts from Ethereum. You can do false transactions via Ethereum, false withdrawals via Ethereum. Stuff that's not really offered, like even on public networks that might be decentralized, public L2s don't have those things implemented today. So the worst thing is the centralized sequence they can really do is send your transactions. They're still not able to sign transactions on your behalf or include your transactions in a proof that it will not be able to be proven.
Yeah, and I can also add something here, coming more from the business perspective. So these centralized parts are the centralized parts that allow Web2 businesses to retain control over some parts of their application while still users having the self-custodiality on Ethereum of these assets. And so a lot of features come from having these central parts, even though at the end of the day, every user has the self-custodiality.
Yes. Very important point. And there's another question I saw that about the wording, the interoperability of can layers connect with each other. So with StarkExpress, it's all within the one StarkX instance. Regarding bridging between StarkX instances, there's some trusted designs out there. There's some trustless or less trusted designs that are still not yet implemented. Anyways, it looks like we're out of time. So do you want to maybe end with the final comments or remind people what website or what Twitter accounts to follow to keep up to date with the latest on your end?
Yes, so we'll be publishing much more materials to keep updated on how the ecosystem is evolving, and further explanation on our features. Follow our Twitter account that's here as a speaker, StarkExpress_IO. And then I also urge you to come to the testnet, and you can do it by signing up on our website, starkexpress.io. It's quite straightforward, and looking forward to speaking with you there.
Great. Take care, everyone.
See you, Leon. See you, everyone.